Sylvester Stallone names the 5 actors he hated most.
To have a couple of young filmmakers, 27 years old, come in and find new life in the movie. Rocky's story has basically been told.
What if I told you that the man who played Rocky Balboa, the underdog who never gave up, and John Rambo, the unstoppable warrior, wasn't always the smiling, fan-friendly action hero the world adores? Sylvester Stallone may look like Hollywood's ultimate tough guy, disciplined and charming, but beneath the muscles and the legend is someone with a fiery pride, fierce competitiveness, and a memory that refuses to let certain grudges go. Behind the cameras, Stallone has clashed with colleagues, taken part in feuds that lasted decades, and even plotted clever acts of revenge against those who crossed him. From on-set explosions of ego to rivalries that went far beyond the screen, his story isn't just about strength and courage. It's also about anger, betrayal, and payback. So the question is, who could possibly push Stallone far enough to end up on his blacklist? Let's find out. Number 1. Richard Gere. Who knew a simple mustard stain could ignite one of Hollywood's most infamous rivalries? What started as 2 rising stars sharing the same set in the 1970s quickly turned into one of the bitterest feuds of Sylvester Stallone's career. Behind the scenes of The Lords of Flatbush, a film meant to launch them both into stardom, small clashes snowballed into outright hatred, tension so raw it followed them for decades. Richard Gere's cool, rebellious attitude clashed with Stallone's no-nonsense personality from the very first day. Stallone later claimed that Gere's arrogance rubbed not only him, but the entire crew the wrong way. The breaking point came during what should have been a trivial moment. Gere allegedly spilled mustard on Stallone's trousers during a break. Furious, Stallone responded by elbowing Gere in the head and forcing him out of the car they were supposed to share. The situation spiraled so far out of control that the director had no choice. Both men were removed from the production, cutting short what could have been an early on-screen partnership and cementing a grudge that would never fade. Who could have imagined that decades after their first clash, Sylvester Stallone and Richard Gere would nearly come to blows again, this time at a party thrown by Elton John? The spark wasn't a movie set or a professional rivalry, but a royal. When Stallone saw Gere captivating Princess Diana's attention, he reportedly felt humiliated. His pride stung as Diana seemed engrossed in Gere's company. According to Elton John's husband, the tension grew so fierce that the 2 men nearly fought then and there. From that night onward, their rift became unbridgeable. Stallone never forgave Gere, and insiders knew he was one of the rare people the action star would never reconcile with, not even years later on the set of The Expendables. But Gere wasn't the only Hollywood heavyweight to find himself on Stallone's blacklist. Number 2. Bruce Willis. When The Expendables 3 began production in 2013, another feud erupted, this time with Bruce Willis. Stallone had successfully revived his career by uniting the legends of action cinema under one explosive franchise, and Willis was expected to return. Instead, a money dispute lit the fuse. Willis demanded a staggering $4 million for just 4 days of filming, an eye-popping rate of $1 million per day. To Stallone and the producers, it was more than greed, it was an insult. For Stallone, action movies weren't just business, they were brotherhood, and Willis's demand felt like a knife in the back. What happens when Hollywood brotherhood turns into betrayal? For years, Sylvester Stallone and Bruce Willis were seen as action titans who could share the same stage, but behind the scenes, loyalty was tested and broken. Stallone's response came swiftly. On social media, he fired off a sharp message without mentioning names, yet leaving no doubt as to its target: greedy and lazy, a sure formula for career failure. Shortly thereafter, he replaced Willis with Harrison Ford, showing no sign of remorse. The tension between the two became public knowledge. Although they never confronted each other directly in the media, Stallone never again invited Willis to participate in any of his projects. Over the years, neither man softened his stance nor showed any inclination toward reconciliation, while Willis has faced health challenges that have distanced him from the industry. Stallone has remained steadfast in his position. In his team, there is no place for those who, in his view, put money above loyalty. Number 3. Kirk Douglas. Now, if Stallone's broken friendships shocked Hollywood, his clash with Kirk Douglas nearly rewrote movie history itself. This wasn't just a personality clash, it was a battle of eras, a generational standoff between the new face of action cinema and one of Hollywood's untouchable legends. Stallone saw Douglas as the embodiment of the old guard. Larger than life, commanding, and unwilling to accept the word no. When they met on the set of First Blood, it should have been a dream partnership. Instead, it spiraled into chaos. By the early weeks of production in 1981, what began as excitement turned into frustration. Douglas had signed on to play Colonel Sam Troutman, Rambo's mentor, but the moment he arrived, he pushed for sweeping rewrites of the script, changes that clashed directly with Stallone's vision and threatened to derail the entire project. Imagine stepping onto a film set only to find a Hollywood legend rewriting the rules of the entire production. That's exactly what happened when Kirk Douglas joined the cast of First Blood. His very first demand, that the ending be changed so Rambo died, just like in the original novel. His second, that every one of his lines be rewritten so he alone delivered the film's most powerful speeches. And the third, perhaps the most unbearable for Stallone, was Douglas's strange habit of speaking in the third person, insisting things like, "Kirk does not say these things. Kirk Douglas should have this line." At first, director Ted Kotcheff and the crew bent over backwards to please him, staying up late into the night to rework scenes. But no matter what they did, Douglas was never satisfied. His demands grew heavier, his patience thinner. Finally, Kotcheff snapped. He confronted him face to face and said, "Kirk, here's the situation. I gave you a script you said you loved. We are filming that script. If you wish to act in it, wonderful. If not, you are free to leave." Douglas didn't hesitate. He stood tall, looked the director in the eye, and replied coldly, "Kirk is leaving immediately." Imagine this. The production was in chaos. An actor had just walked out, and the entire future of Rambo hung by a thread. Then came Richard Gere. He showed up the very next day, memorized his lines on the ride to the set, and transformed into Colonel Troutman, delivering a performance so powerful that it cemented him as one of the saga's most iconic figures. But Stallone never forgot how close the film came to disaster. He was convinced if Kirk Douglas's version had gone forward, Rambo would never have become the global phenomenon it is today. The fallout was brutal. Stallone cut all ties with Douglas, never spoke his name in interviews again, and carried with him a hard lesson from that battle. In Hollywood, even legends can fall, but warriors endure. Number 4. Eddie Murphy. Imagine two of the biggest stars of the 1980s, Sylvester Stallone, the action hero of a generation, and Eddie Murphy, the king of comedy, bonded by fame, fortune, and respect for each other's talent. It seemed like an unlikely but genuine friendship. But in Hollywood, friendships can be fragile, and what shattered theirs wasn't about movies, money, or ego. It was something far more dangerous. A rumor that hit Stallone right where it hurt the most, his marriage. The breaking point came in 1987 during the filming of Beverly Hills Cop 2. Stallone's wife at the time, Brigitte Nielsen, was part of the cast. Soon, whispers spread across the set, whispers claiming that Murphy and Nielsen were secretly having an affair. For Stallone, already struggling with a rocky relationship at home, the rumor was like gasoline on fire. According to Murphy himself, in a 1989 Rolling Stone interview, Stallone didn't hesitate. He picked up the phone, called Murphy directly, and unleashed a furious accusation. "You fed my wife." Murphy, stunned, tried to calm him down. "Calm down, brother. I didn't do anything with your wife." But Stallone never let go of the suspicion. The damage was done. From that moment on, the trust between them was gone forever. Murphy continued to deny any involvement, even going as far as to say in an interview, "I never wanted to be with her. She's not my type. She was my friend's wife, and I am not that kind of person." What began as one of Hollywood's most surprising friendships ended in mistrust, gossip, and a betrayal that Stallone never forgave. Suspicion can destroy even the strongest bonds. And for Stallone, suspicion alone was enough. What had once been a friendship was shattered forever. From that moment on, the two were never seen together on a stage, at an event, or in any project. Their careers ran in parallel, both men finding success, but behind the scenes, Stallone carried a wound he never allowed to heal. A betrayal he believed had threatened not just his marriage, but his very pride. Number 5. Arnold Schwarzenegger. When two titans collide, sparks fly, and in Hollywood, no rivalry burned hotter than the one between Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger. This wasn't just a competition of biceps and box office numbers. It was a cold war fought with sabotage, mind games, and some of the cruelest pranks in movie history. On the surface, fans saw two action heroes dominating the 80s and 90s, larger-than-life figures who seemed to push each other to greater heights. But behind the scenes, the truth was far darker. Every new film became a battle. Who had the bigger guns, the meaner villains, the flashier explosions? For years, their egos clashed in silence, each determined to crush the other's legacy. And then, in 1992, Arnold pulled off a stunt that Hollywood insiders still talk about to this day. Knowing Stallone's obsession with beating him to every role, Schwarzenegger pretended to be interested in a script so terrible it could ruin a career. The film? Stop, or my mom will shoot. Arnold never wanted it, but he knew Stallone wouldn't resist snatching it first. What happened next turned their rivalry into legend. Imagine being outsmarted by your greatest rival. Not in the ring, not on the battlefield, but in Hollywood itself. That's exactly what happened to Sylvester Stallone. Convinced he was seizing a golden opportunity, he grabbed a role, only to discover it was one of the most humiliating films of his career. Years later, Arnold Schwarzenegger revealed the cruel truth with a grin. It's 100% true. I did it so Stallone would take that movie. I knew it was terrible. And Stallone, swallowing his pride, admitted, he tricked me. He's always been smart. That single defeat became legendary, a public embarrassment Stallone never forgot. Yet, ironically, it also paved the way for the end of their bitter rivalry. As the years passed, the two icons went from enemies to allies, sharing the screen in blockbusters like The Expendables and Escape Plan. But back in the 1980s and 1990s, Hollywood was a battlefield too small for both giants. And in their most brutal clash, it was Arnold who walked away with the most humiliating victory of Stallone's career. From mustard stains and broken friendships to money wars and mind games, Stallone's Hollywood journey wasn't just about glory and applause. It was also about grudges, betrayals, and rivalries that tested his pride. These 5 names, Richard Gere, Bruce Willis, Eddie Murphy, Kirk Douglas, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, weren't just co-stars or competitors. They became part of the battles that shaped his legend. And maybe that's the real story behind Sylvester Stallone. The fighter who never forgot, the warrior who carried his grudges like trophies, and the man who proved that Hollywood wasn't just a stage, it was a battlefield. So tell me, which of these feuds shocked you the most? And do you think Stallone was right to hold on to his grudges, or should he have let them go? Drop your thought on the comment.